Here we are.
You want me to end the broadcast?
No, not at all. I was just going to ask you a question about sharing, but not a big deal.
Okay. All right. Well, we're live here on Facebook Live. We should be anyway after a few technical difficulties. Lisa Kneller here with Lanie Smith. I'm going to introduce her in a moment, but I wanted to welcome you to Smart and Social, the new relationship marketing for small businesses, and let you know that you can go to my website at smartandsocial.biz and get a copy of my ebook titled High Tech, High Touch Marketing for Success. And it is how to maximize the power of networking, social media, and high impact direct mail for more leads, customer retention, and more business. So anyway, the purpose of this live broadcast is really to give you some great insight from savvy people. I like to interview savvy business owners and people who are in marketing, mind, body, that kind of thing. And so today I get to bring you someone who I admire a lot and I've gotten to know over the last several years. And we're going to talk about sustainable self-care. So my special guest is Lanie Smith. Welcome, Lanie. I want to give your bio real quick. So Lanie is the owner and founder of Integrative Art Therapy, an expressive arts group practice in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as a vitality coach. I love that word, vitality, for driving, helping professionals whose success has come at the cost of their own zest for life. She helps them regain vitality without sacrificing success. She believes in sustainable self-care, which she will talk about, as a lifestyle to experience less stress, more ease, and natural creative flow. Having faced her own chronic health diagnosis and burnout cycle, she is passionate about supporting other helping professionals with her signature approach she calls Eco Art Wellness, combining nature and the creative process to slow down and tune in as the antidote to burnout and chronic stress. Lanie got her master's in art therapy and creativity development from Pratt University in Brooklyn, New York, after serving as a student researcher and site supervisor measuring the efficacy of art therapy with war-affected youth in northern Uganda under the National Institute of Health. She was greatly affected by exposure to mass suffering, which led her to make self-care for the helping profession the focus of her life's work. She has been featured on Psych Central, goodtherapy.org, and Therapy Chat Podcast, to name a few, and now she's on Smart and Social, addressing topics such as creative self-care, eco-art for healers, compassion fatigue, and burnout prevention. Lives with her partner and shepherd mix Maddie. Now her partner is not the dog, her partner is Tony, but she lives with her partner, Tony, and her shepherd mix Maddie in Phoenix, where she loves hiking, dancing, and hip hop, I just have to say.
Yeah, get it.
She's a hip hop gal, and creating in and with nature. So Lanie and I met a few years ago at a healthcare event in Scottsdale, and we hit it off. We have supported each other, like I said, in different ways. And most recently, we have been on a group journey to excavate our creative souls. And she is smart and funny and joyful. And she is on a mission to help others build a healthy lifestyle so that joy can flow through them more easily. All right. So welcome, Lanie. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for those kind words. And yeah, it's just been so fun to spend more and more time with you.
It's been interesting. We are really, I would say we're growing and changing, just like a lot of people. And so that's been really fun. Well, let's get this party started, shall we? I want to ask you some questions, and we'll get our audience informed here. So how did you get so interested in self-care, and why are you so passionate about this particular subject?
Well, yeah, I think you kind of already alluded to part of it just in introducing me. The work that I did in Africa really did impact me on a very deep level, and it just showed me how much room for growth I had as I was entering the field. That was about a decade ago now. And so I was, as a very sensitive person and creative, I went with excitement for adventure and, leaning into art therapy and what it could be. And I just saw a lot of pain and suffering and trauma. And I just quickly realized that I had a lot of room for growth to tend to my own inner world and take care of myself both inwardly and outwardly in order to be of service to other people, because I was very overwhelmed, by what I saw. And it kind of hit on some tender parts of my own history and family of origin. And so that became really fascinating to me to see, what draws healers and helpers to this field. How do they take care of themselves in the face of devastating pain, loss, trauma? And so that was what I focused on in graduate school. I continued to focus on it outside when I got into the field. I ended up with an autoimmune condition that really it was kind of the last straw, so to speak, where I basically saw like, okay, this self-care thing can't just be an interesting thing that I learn about and I do on occasion and I, add to my to-do list. It has to be a lifestyle, and I have to make some major changes. It was a wake-up call for me. So that's really where, some of it started and has continued and just continues to evolve too.
Well, I'm going to probably, when we get together next time or sometime, I want to hear more about that experience in Uganda, because I don't know that part of you really. And I would love for you to share if you don't mind sometime. So I don't have to tell you how the mind and body are so interconnected, right? Because you're an expert at this area. How can self-care benefit the mind? Because I'm so into that. I'm into helping people create strong minds. And in other words, how does it help us focus our mental activities, our understanding, our ability to communicate, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I have a little different take on this, I think, because I hear people talking about self-care as if it's something outside of us, like manicure, pedicure, massage, facial, like all these, good food and sleep, and all of those things are so important. And I feel like those are things that are kind of outside of us, and they are important. And if we're not doing the inside work, then we're going to find ourselves in kind of some self-limiting behaviors and bad habits. And so I really see self-care as an inside job. It's like when we're tending to the parts of us internally, then the mind, it has the ability to settle. So just to kind of clarify that a little bit, it's like because I've alluded to self-care as a lifestyle, right? So self-care is not just about doing something to take care of ourselves. It's about choosing our entire life, our relationships, our job choice, the kind of clients we see or serve. It's about making choices that are all really based on the foundation of who you are. So, for example, a lot of people do a ton of things and stay very busy and very active. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if there's a part of you internally that's resisting that, well, now we've just created stress. There's a part of you that's not on board. And that stress in the body then is kind of like an alarm system for the mind. The mind's job is to keep us safe and protected. So if there's any part of us that's not in alignment, the mind is going to be very busy, very active, very loud. And it does that on purpose. Like that's a very, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that continuous tapping on my shoulder, like, you're out of alignment, get back on track, now, faster, quicker, sooner, because something's not quite right. And our bodies know that. And so when we are making choices that are based on our values, our mind is on board with that, and the mind tends to settle a bit. So it really is about being in alignment and attunement, following our heart, choosing things based on our values, getting our gut on board with the courage to take that action, whether it's saying yes to something or saying no to something. And then our mind is like, okay, cool. What do we have to do that? It gives our mind a job so it doesn't have to be so busy and active.
And anxiety ridden.
Yeah. Right.
And then I think that, kind of what my thing is I try to bring a goal to people, and then I try to give them a skill to kind of attain that goal. And so I know that that's what you do too as a therapist. So what drew you to working with helping professionals as opposed to, anyone?
Sure. Well, I started in the field working with anyone. I was very much, I was extremely excited about working with chemical dependency and co-occurring disorders and substance abuse and mental health, and did all of that for many years. And then when I opened my private practice, I was really on a mission to create a business and a life that was going to support my health. And I just attracted lots of helpers and healers. My very first support group, I think it was like 10 people signed up on the first night. Every one of them was a helping professional. And it's like, I didn't create that. The universe, I firmly believe that we attract who we're meant to serve. And it was, it was mutually beneficial. It was serving me as much as it was serving them. And so it just filled me up so much to be doing that work. And I still saw people who weren't necessarily helping professionals, and still do, have some clients as a therapist who aren't therapists or helpers. And I have even had some coaching clients who aren't in that profession. But my mission, so to speak, is very much about reminding other helpers and healers how much we have to fill our own cup and be in alignment in order to do this work.
Yeah. So important. So those of you who are seeing therapists and getting help from helping professionals can know that they're human too, and they have stuff that they have to work on, and they have to take care of themselves in order to take care of you. And they've probably studied that if they're doing a really good job, they're taking care of themselves too. So, okay. So I know you focus on making self-care a sustainable lifestyle. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah. I think I alluded to it a little bit with, kind of being integral, when our head, heart, and gut, or mind, body, and spirit, when all of those things are working together, it's sustainable. When there's not a part of us that's pushing against this idea of who we should be or what we should do, and we really are following those natural impulses and natural attractions to things, and we're not kind of going with just how we've been programmed. It's like getting to the true essence of who we are. I'm sure you've heard the movement Essentialism. There's a great book out there titled Essentialism. And when I think about that word essentialism, it's like the Latin root of that. What is it? Can't remember the full pronunciation of it, but basically assent, right? It is the essence or the being of something. And when we fully embody that part of us, everything in our life is going to be set up around who we are. So I'll just give you an example, because you mentioned my hip hop.
Yes.
So I was born in the South, loved soul music, love hip hop, love rap, just like part of, even when I went to Africa, was just so connected to the drums. And, that's just a part of me. And so when it comes to exercise, tuning into that part of like, not what I should do, like, getting to the gym at 5 a.m. and making sure I get to my abs and making sure I get to my legs and like doing it as a chore of what I should do. It's like, what does my heart want? Right. And my heart wanted to shake and dance and jump around. And so that's a part of me that recently was kind of reignited because I had been away from that for a little bit. So it's like designing parts of your life that are sustainable, because they're not things that you should do. They're things that you actually want to do. That's going to give you the energy. You don't have to find motivation to go out and exercise. It's like, no, I'm doing what feels good. And we all have that ability to follow our natural instincts and our natural attraction. And it's not just with exercise. That was just kind of an example, but it's like the same with intuitive eating or, your job. If you're doing something that lights you up and you're using your gifts and you're using your natural strengths and it's aligned with the things that are important to you, then it's not about having to motivate yourself, push yourself, force yourself to get something done. It's like you're following things that give you natural energy.
And some people feel that way going to the gym, which is great. But like for me, it's yoga all the way.
Yeah.
Put me on a treadmill. I don't like treadmills,
Right. And it's sustainable, right? Because you love it.
It is. It's so true, because I remember way back when I was doing the gym and going to group fitness classes, and I kind of enjoyed it when I was younger. I just did it. I don't really even know why I did it. I think it just made me feel better. But I would always be 3 months on, 2 months off kind of thing. It would be, just hit or miss. And then when I found yoga, I was, I don't know, smitten with it, I guess. And it just fed me so well that I just kept going. I really have not taken a break from yoga in 17 years. And I mean, there are days when I don't do it. There are weeks, maybe when I go on vacation, I don't run to the first yoga studio. But I mean, it's part of my daily life. So I get that, what you're saying. Yeah. I had not heard of essentialism really or studied it. So I'm really grateful for that word to come into my consciousness, because it just gives me another tool to go enhance my life, I guess, Yeah,
it's there. The author is, I think it's Greg McKeown, I believe, there's the author of Essentialism. And that Latin word finally came to me. It was essentia. And it like when you think of the word essential, right, it's like doing what is absolutely worthwhile and letting go of everything else. So, for example, we're talking about sustainability in my life. If it's not a hell yeah, and he says this in the book, if it's not a hell yeah, let's do this, then it's a no.
Oh, okay.
Right. So you just say no to a lot more because it's not in alignment with who you are deep down, essentially.
I can imagine you might save some money even doing that.
Oh, totally. Totally.
I don't have to have a gym membership for $120 a month because I'm going to go to hip hop.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Or I'm going to go dancing.
That's right. Yeah. And there's another book out there, The Simple Living Guide, that a friend and coach of mine recently told me about, and I've read about half of it. But yeah, it talks about exactly what you're saying, which is that, we actually can be very fiscally responsible when we are super attuned to what's important to us, because our money's going to go exactly where we want it to go when we really know who we are and what makes us thrive.
Yeah. I'm doing a little study of that now on myself, looking at my receipts. Where am I spending my money? I do know it's mostly food, groceries, gas, and going out to eat, which feeds my social self. So I love that.
Well, yeah, it's in with your values.
Totally. Okay, so you know this about me. One of my goals is to help people become mental ninjas. I chose that word because I love the you know, to be in strong mind. Because I know that the mind moves the body. The mind, takes you into action. So do you have any thoughts on how people can strengthen their minds or their mental thought processes with or without therapy? And I think therapy is a really good way to go, especially if you need clarity and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, a few different things come to mind. The first one is this idea of, the mind kind of gets us going and gets us into action. And I think that we live in a culture that's pretty mind dominant. And so that can be the case. But for my experience, it's kind of like what you were saying before about having that gym membership and then having to push yourself to go. If it's coming from a mental place and not like a heart-centered place, then it takes more work. And so part of sustainability is about not having to push, right? Like it being this natural flow. And so in that natural flow, what I see is that being really, really connected to the body is an important part of helping the mind. So it's actually giving the mind a break. And so I just had to throw that in because of what you're saying about, kind of getting the mind on board. It's like the mind can settle down a little bit when we're not pushing and forcing. And so this is actually where a lot of my work with nature comes in, using nature as a teacher. Allows you to settle that mind, because the mind can, like you alluded to, it can work for you or it can work against you. And so the mind is going to work against you if you are kind of pushing and forcing from a place that's not the essence of who you are, that's not that natural part that we've been talking about. If it's coming from something you think you should do, then you're probably going to get a lot of pushback. And so what I like to kind of help people do is get into their bodies. And so the more in their bodies they are, the more their mind can settle. And so we don't have to do as much work to getting the mind, like changing the mind, so to speak. It's like the mind is just there when we need it. There's a quote. I can't think of what it is, but it's about using your mind rather than letting your mind use you.
Yeah. Which is a big problem.
It is. It's a huge problem in the world we live right now. Like we're just very mind dominant. And so what I really like to do is like take people out to bodies of water, bodies of land, reconnect them through those bodies with their own body, so they can really see, like, we are nature. We have this natural ability to follow our instincts, follow our impulses. And when we do that, the mind is quiet. Then when we need the mind, we ask how to do this rather than what should I do? It's like the what is coming from the body. And then we allow the mind to help inform the how. And so in doing that, it's really not about changing your mind in any way. It's about integrating your mind with your body so they're working together symbiotically. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think though it takes some skill to do that. Like it takes some awareness and some skill. Like it's easier said than done. But sure. Like I like your suggestion to get out into nature too, because I notice when people do that, like you'll see a lot of pictures on Facebook of people going hiking and stuff like that, and you can tell it brings joy. It brings joy to their life.
It does. And it's not, it can be approached in two different ways. Like it can be approached like, okay, this is something that I need to do, kind of like the to-do list thing or the self-care thing. Mm-hmm. It can be approached that way where it's not necessarily being used as a teacher. It's just being used as an activity. And there's nothing right or wrong about that. What I'm saying is that there's the potential to take it even deeper and actually use nature to ask questions to inform you on and guide you. Mm-hmm. And so that is, like you said, that may be easier said than done, and it takes some practice. And I actually have tools that I'll be able to share, even at the end of this, some free tools to kind of let you play and practice with that, because it's an attitude that you're bringing to an activity about curiosity, play, and learning versus some new thing that you need to learn and apply. It's about tapping into what's already in you.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So let's talk about your Eco Art Wellness Program. What is that exactly? And how does it help people? What kind of benefits are your clients seeing from that?
Yeah, well, I kind of just hit on a little bit of it in terms of taking people outside and really connecting them to the environment and letting them learn how to ask questions and guidance, and using both the creative process with the nature connecting activities. That combined really is my Eco Art Wellness Program. So, some of the key steps in that is about first slowing down and tuning in and inviting nature to kind of hold and guide, and then putting that into the artwork so that it can inform and really we create an action plan out of that. Me, not so much. I'm just the guide, because again, nature is doing a lot. Nature and the creative process are doing a lot of the work. I call that my co-therapist. And so what I would say is,
like that.
Yeah, I do too. It takes the pressure off of me, right? Like I trust the process and allow the natural unfolding for people to tap into the wisdom that's already there for themselves. And so, and I've done this in both my therapy practice as well as my coaching practice. And so I've seen it on a lot of different levels, both, from the therapy side and the coaching side. And so there's a wide range of transformations that I see coming from clients. And I'll just pull from some of the ones that are coming to mind right now. I have, a client who, when she and I first started together, her life was very much out of alignment. You talked about the anxiety and, we talked about the stress and all of that, how it comes from not being completely in alignment with your values. She was saying yes to all sorts of things like hospitality committees and family reunions and volunteer and all these things that she thought she should be doing versus what she was really wanting to do deep within. And so a large part of our work was her slowing down and tuning into that, just making white space on a regular basis to listen, and then going out, doing the nature connecting activities, really asking questions, asking for guidance. And what emerged was that there was this deep desire in her to open an art studio, so far from the stuff that she was doing on, hospitality committees with like a neighborhood association and, family reunions all over the country, and just all these things, obligatory things that were draining her energy. Yeah. And as a result of draining her energy, they were actually keeping some of her autoimmune condition flared up. Well, as a result of doing the Eco Art Program, she came to these conclusions. She started saying no, letting go of the obligatory, not doing the family reunions and the hospitality committees, started getting more energy while she was doing the creativity piece and her art piece, and ultimately ended up opening an art studio. So now she's paying it forward. Talk about sustainable self-care. Like, she doesn't have to motivate herself for anything. Like, she's popping out of bed every day excited because she's using her gifts that came from the heart. They're not about what she should do.
I love that. What a great story.
Yeah. Fills my heart. And I have so many like that. This is one where I've been able to see it from like beginning to not complete end, but really, coming in a major transformation. She's coming out of that. But then there's just so many other stories that, that people, when they tap into that innate wisdom, it's within all of us. And self-care does not have to be something that we have to do, like that we have to add to just our weekend or, just hang on till that next vacation. Like it is about living in a way that you are so tapped into your natural strengths and your natural desires, and you're living that out so that the energy is just natural and flowing through the creative process. When I say creative process, I'm not necessarily talking art. I'm talking about like life is a creative process. Nature is a creative process. And when we follow those natural instincts and desires, then that energy flows.
Yeah, you've really helped me see that through the Artist's Way study. That's been extraordinary. Such little things can bring up such big things.
Yeah.
Just doing a little exercise like journaling or an artist date or something like that just opens you up to that creative flow. I love it. So
yeah.
Okay, so Lanie, you offer a TED Talk of your own, so to speak, right? You have a presentation or whatever.
I do. I was like, okay, Lisa, let's slow down on the TED Talk here. Yeah, no, I hear you.
I did that to Lauren yesterday. I was like, someday you'll have your own TED Talk. She thought Brene Brown was like not leaving anything for anyone else to do. I said, oh my gosh, I don't think she would believe that for a second, but
because we all have our unique voice and position. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to hear about what you can talk about and to whom, like, can you talk about to corporations or health professionals? Like, just give us a little skinny on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I've hit on a lot of it in terms of, these pillars of self-care that I'm talking about: slowing down, tuning in, turning to nature, using your creativity to boost your own energy, clarity, all of that, and intuition too. Like when we start listening to ourselves internally, we start finding synchronicities in the world. And so it's all very supportive of what I'm talking about. In the talk that I do, I'm just going deeper into those things. I'm really kind of talking about the eco-psychology of the nature piece and the, just kind of the essentialism that I talked about with the slowing down and tuning in. And then also the creativity, like really distinguishing the fact that creativity is not necessarily about art, that these things are different and that everyone is creative. And so when we're following our own creativity, it's again naturally motivating. And so that's really the kind of the essence of the talk. And, in the work that I do with my Eco Art Wellness program, I definitely am bringing in other pieces to that, but that's kind of foundational. So that's what I like to share with organizations. I've been doing quite a few talks recently with smaller community agencies that have come from previous, more public, like I did some talks with Arizona Art Therapy Association, the Play Therapy Association, Holistic Nurses, Expressive Arts Summit. So I've done some, and what I did was I took all of those presentations and kind of blended it into a synthesis that is kind of the pillars right now. And so in terms of who could benefit from that, I'm very happy to continue talking and sharing that with both local and national organizations. So really any, I'm focused on helpers and healers and helping professionals, but just as we've talked about, this applies to everyone. And so I'm very happy to volunteer, time to do that for whether it's a local, community agency for helpers and healers, or if it's, some other kind of, for example, Fresh Start Women here locally, I'll be doing something with them. City of Goodyear and their employees, I'll be doing something with them coming up. So it's really across the board. I'm really just trying to make everyone super aware of how important this self-care lifestyle is for us to get out of this epidemic of chronic stress that we're in, that's just so, pervasive.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So where can people find you, Lanie?
LanieSmithCoaching.com for my Eco Art Wellness program. And I do have a free gift there. I mentioned earlier that, if you wanted to, anyone listening or watching wants to dabble and kind of play with what an eco art wellness activity can do for them, I would highly encourage you to go grab that and use the weekend or anytime during the week to just carve out an eco artist date for yourself.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want listeners to know?
Yeah, I mean, besides the, having the free guide and really trying that on for yourself, I would really just invite listeners to own the power that they already have within. So often, especially in the culture we live, there's this push to try this and try that and do this and do that and kind of look for stuff outside of ourselves. And that's such a myth, just such a myth, because self-care is an inside job. And until you are in touch with everything going on inside and really comfortable with who you are, none of the stuff, all the other stuff, that you can buy and you can try, like they're great avenues to discover parts of yourself, but ultimately you already have everything you need. And I would invite you to own that and try that on for yourself and shoot me an email and let me know how it feels to try that on, because that's something that you can do in the activity if you grab the free guide. Just shoot me an email and tell me exactly what that feels like to play with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's awesome. Now, you say self-care is an inside job. Did you coin that phrase, or is that coming from you? Because I love that.
Oh, okay. Well, I just came up with that this morning in my eco art group. So
that's going to be quoted to Lanie Smith then, I think.
I'm going to say that, yes, that was a Lanieism, but who knows? There could be somebody out there that's saying it too. I just haven't looked it up.
Oh, well, I love that. Someone will see a graphic somewhere soon.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because the whole social media memes thing is not, I don't spend too much time doing that. So I can't wait to see your creative genius in that.
I do have a little my creative thing. I like to do those
and
things.
You're good at it. You're really good at it. So I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Thank you. I have some technical help, by the way. I don't design all those, layout of the font. I don't do all that, but I mean, it's a fun little app I use. Well, so if any of you are out there and you have your own audience that would want to interview Lanie, or if you know of a corporation or a group of healthcare professionals that could benefit from her talk, make sure you go see her at LanieSmithCoaching.com and grab her free gift and email her and let her know. And Lanie, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so much fun.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you've inspired me to move forward with some of my creativity. I so appreciate that. And anyway, for those of you who have watched today and who've hung out with us, thank you so much. Again, you can find me. I'm here on Facebook Live like almost every morning during the week doing a Morning Mojo Minute. I would love for you to join me for those. And you can find me at smartandsocial.biz. So have a wonderful Saturday and weekend. Get out there in nature, do something fun and creative. Get in touch with your inner magic, and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.